chased validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt up on the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher constantly, making my own climb. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. Whoa, I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield.
It happened again. How you doing, ladies and gentlemen? I'm your host, Xander, where we're talking about this, that, and everything in between live, like we always be. So we've got confirmation. Sarah's going to be here. She's going to be on Wednesday of next week, which we're going to rearrange our schedule for her to come on. We have a guest host that's coming on to the show that's going to be giving some of the fellas some dating advice. If you guys have questions, regardless of whether or not you have questions why the women don't behave the way you expect them to behave when you're trying to interact with them, or just some tips and tricks as to what you think you should do while you're trying to get started with that courting phase. You know, anything that you decide to ask, as long as the questions are appropriate, we're going to be airing those questions on the show next week, Wednesdays. Sarah's going to be here. We're going to start 10 o'clock on the dot on Wednesday of next week. So note, if you want to shout out to Sarah, and if you also want to be on the show next week, Wednesday, make sure that you stay tuned for that live, 11 o'clock Eastern time on the dot. Now, today we're talking about investing, and tomorrow we're talking about a different country to invest in, and Wednesday we're going to be getting back on our relationship topics. Next week is going to be a little bit alternated, but we still got somewhat of a rotation going. Today, we're going to be unlocking at least 5 incredible money tips that people do in China, where the power of being frugal is not the same as being poor. So we're going to be going into that. We're going to be talking to you guys about the ins and outs of that, the details of that, and then you guys will be able to take some tips and tricks with you. Now, one of the things that we're also going to do today that's going to help you guys out a lot, special shout out to those of you that's watching us from Twitch and Twitter, is we're at the beginning of the month of June, and we've got some X dividends that are rolling in, and we're going to be giving you a list of some of the ones that have paid out this past week that are higher in value. We're going to be giving you the share price value, and we're going to be giving the dividend payout per share so that you can determine whether or not you're going to add some of these into the dividend rotation strategy that we're working on. Once I've looked into them to see the X dividend dates, because the values are important, but the X dividend dates are equally important, because you don't want to factor in or phase in a new stock into your rotation that will interfere with your current rotation unless your new stock is going to pay out a larger quantity of money for a smaller quantity of investment in comparison to the ones that you already have. So if you do have a decent quantity of them that you're rotating through, and some of the ones that I give you today towards the end of the show are better than some of the ones that you're using, you can hold on the ones that you were using, like buy and hold those to benefit from the $0 taxation on the money that doesn't move, and still rotate on some of the new ones that you're getting yourself involved with, which kind of gives you a fine balance between holdings versus money that moves. So stay tuned for that. That's going to be later on in today's show. Now, let's get started. We're going to go ahead and dive deep into this particular topic that is a very practical way to go about saving and investing, because in order for you to invest, you've got to be able to save. Because you can't take your bill money and put it onto the stocks, because your bill's got to get paid before the stock pays out. So we're going to be exploring what it really means to live frugally in one of the world's most dynamic countries. And here's a twist. I'm going to be seeing if we can adopt some of these money-saving habits into our day-to-day lifestyles and see if we can maintain that for a week or a month or more. Take note on some of the recommendations that I provide to you today, and then let me know if you can survive and will you definitely thrive with the reduction of costs and expenses based on some of the tips and tricks that we're going to be giving you today. But before we jump in to our personal expenses, let's set the stage with some context. Okay. Now, in China, frugality isn't just a personal choice. It's a deeply rooted cultural value woven into the fabric of society for centuries. The Chinese word for frugality is zhejian, which is often spoken with pride. So it's seen as a virtue, not a sign of poverty or a lack of finances. Unlike in America, where some of the poorest people in America pride themselves off of buying overly expensive things and then parading around the overly expensive things to give a false perception of wealth. One of the things that you'll come to notice, and it'll make a lot of sense down the line, is that the wealthiest people in the world do not expel large quantities of resources on proving that they have wealth, because they're wealthy. What does a wealthy person have to prove to a person that's not wealthy? They could care less. They're living their own life. They're living the best life that can possibly be lived, right? Now, I understand that this isn't compared to the celebrities who started off with nothing and made it big and they're doing $50 million Rolexes and private islands, and everybody's got an Aston Martin or a DB9, and they've got to show up in the red carpet with the Maybach. But a lot of the times, believe it or not, in the background, they're not owning those cars, they're leasing them. Some of them have affiliate scenarios where the clothes that they're getting are free to advertise the brand. The vehicles that they ride in are free to advertise the brand, just to be seen sitting in the vehicle. They're promoting that particular vehicle. So a lot of the times you look at some of the music artists and some of the actors and stuff, and you believe, oh man, they've got so much stuff. They really don't. A lot of them, especially the ones that you see in insignificant commercials, are usually diving into those insignificant commercials to cover the spread, because they have spent more money than they made, and now they got to make more money to cover the spread. So let's look at a history for a second. For much of China's past, resources were scarce. So from dynasty times through the 20th centuries, families have had to make it do with very little. And the famous proverb, Qinjian Qijan, might not be pronouncing that correctly, but what it means, if it's said correctly, is diligence and frugality manage the household. So this has guided generations, even as China has rapidly modernized and become the world's second largest economy in comparison to the United States. The values are still persistent to this day. So you might think that with China's booming cities and growing middle class, frugality would be fading, but actually surveys show otherwise. According to a 2023 report by McKinsey, over 60% of Chinese consumers say they are careful spenders, and 70% regularly compare prices before making purchases. Saving rates in China are among the highest in the world, with households saving about 36% of their disposable income, compared to just 7% in the United States. Now, think about that for a moment. If you're only saving 7% of your income, which is actually less than, irony, the 10% that the church is encouraging you to give to the church for Sunday night sermons, how much are you actually able to develop a return from if you're only putting away 7%, where you're spending the other 93%? So why do so many? The rotation that I told you before, where a couple where each party is making 50,000 a piece or around about the same, and one person's paying for the majority of the lifestyle, a little under 60,000 a year, and the other person's investing the remainder into stocks and bonds. That's 40%. China is doing 36%. So why do so many Chinese people live frugally? The answer is both culturally and practically. It's a very practical thing to do. So let's clear up a common misconception. Being frugal does not mean you're poor or in any way, shape, or form unsuccessful. In fact, some of China's most successful entrepreneurs are famously frugal. Take Jack Ma, founder of Alibaba. And if anybody has ever bought anything off of Alibaba, Alibaba is similar to Amazon. And he's known for his simple tastes and careful spending. And you can tell with the platform of Alibaba, where the prices of the products being sold are cheaper than similar products sold on Amazon or Walmart.com. Or stories of Zhang Quan Hao, the billionaire behind the Waha Group. I don't know. Hold on, guys. He named his company after a maniacal laugh. It's like, wah, ah, 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 group. But he's a millionaire who reportedly wore the same $15 watch for years. Not a Rolex, not a Louis Vuitton, not any type, not the Hamilton watch from Men in Black, like a $15 like quartz watch, like a regular basic watch. That's what he wore for years, and preferred economy class travel instead of first class travel. Now, traveling economy is way cheaper than flying first class. First class could be as much as 3 times more to travel. And the wasteful minded individuals might actually prefer to enjoy first class. Some of the wealthiest of wealthy individuals that prefer less crowds might actually put in for first class flights instead of private jets. But if you ever got it like that, it turns into like that pastor with the 52-bedroom mansion and the 3 private jets that he flew by himself. He flew, the congregation flew coach, and he flew private jet, and he met everybody there. Look, now, when you put the money where it's supposed to be at, you end up with a lot more opportunities. But frugality in China is about being smart, not stingy. It's a big difference. In America, we use the synonym for being frugal as stingy, but it's not about being stingy. It's about making conscious choices, prioritizing what truly matters, and avoiding waste. It's about living within your means, yes, but also about making the most of what you have. So why is frugality so important in China? For many families, it's a way to build security in an uncertain world. With a rapidly changing economy, high housing prices, and limited social safety nets, saving is a way to prepare for the future. Education, healthcare, retirement, or even starting a business is going to require you to put a lot of bit aside so that you can start something big that will give you a lot more on the back end. Let's take a look at some of the numbers. Chinese households are saving on average about 36% of their income. Homeowners, over 90% of them are urban Chinese families who own their own homes, who often achieve this through years of disciplined savings. The educational spending with Chinese parents that spend about 30% of household income on their children's education, often saving for years to afford it. Now, if they're saving 36% of their income as actual savings in case something goes wrong, and they're saving another 30% for the child's education, I want you to put those numbers together and recognize that that is a total of 66% of your income that is not being utilized on regular spending, which ultimately means that these individuals are living at about 34% of the cost of living. Though 34% of the income is the cost of living, which, if you guys remember, I told you guys about the 50-40-10 rule. I told you guys about the 40-60 rule. The 40-60 rule is like advanced levels of budgeting, where everything that you owe is under 40%, and everything else can be saved for emergency funds and invested for other situations. We don't think about these things when we're living from paycheck to paycheck. If you can find a way to put yourself at 75% of the income that you bring in, you would be amazed at the 25%, what you could do with that 25%. But a lot of people rebudget and reorganize their expenses so that they have more money to party, talking about work hard, party harder. But you spend your principal and you end up being required to go back to work to make more money the next time. Then when there are droughts where you're not making as much as you used to, bosses are rolling back hours, you don't have as much play money. And then you end up in situations like the people who just got laid off because Canada's not buying Jack Daniels anymore. Been working for the company for years, excellent employee, didn't do anything wrong, but because the company doesn't want to lose budget, it lets you go. If you don't have money to fall back on living from check to paycheck, 2 to 4 weeks after you've gotten let go, you're suffering because your last paycheck comes 2 weeks from now, if not next week. And then you get a partial paycheck the week after that, and that's it. You got to hurry up and go and find you another job. And here this year, 500,000 people or more have lost their employment with the changes that's happened since January. And that's not the end of the upcoming unemployment that we expect to see based on the changes in the economy in the United States. So if we did not have 6 months, a year, 2 years of savings sitting aside where we would have the capabilities to be unemployed for a few months or a year, or start up a self-starting occupation that could give you a little bit of an income, a reasonable quantity of income, cover your standard of living based off the time that it takes for you to get it off the ground. You know that the only thing that stops startup companies from being successful is the investment capital to get it started and the time that the investors can wait before they can see a profit. The people who invest in you might have patience. They can wait a few months or a couple years, depending on what they invested in and how much they're supposed to be getting back in interest over time. But you yourself, the primary investor, because you're investing your time, your effort, and your resources. If you don't have money to pay your bills, you have to abandon any venture that is not paying the bills and redirect the bulk of your effort into making enough money to pay the bills. If you've got money to fall back on, you've got time to put in to make your venture more successful, which then gives you the ability to make your venture a profitable venture that covers your standard of living. Now, clearly, frugality isn't just about pinching pennies. It's a strategy for long-term success. And I've been telling you guys about finding your 20-year plan. Do it in phases. Get you a 2-year plan that capitalizes to a 5-year plan that capitalizes to a 10-year plan that doubles down to a 15-year plan that finishes off at a 20-year plan. But your end goal is you do not have to work for your money. Your money is making money for you. That is your 20-year plan. You're making more money than you need should be your 2 to 5 year plan. And making more money than you need means that the profits that you're making off of whatever investment opportunities that you're getting into is putting more money back into your pocket to cover your standard of living than the quantity of money that it takes to make that stack. For example, with our dividend rotation strategy, you could get 100 to 160% of interest back on your principal. So if you put up $20,000, you would get $30,000 back, or a little over $30,000 back, which means you turn $20,000 to $50,000 if you include your principal investment. That's not going to pay your bills, though. If you need a $60,000 lifestyle, you would need $60,000 to invest utilizing the dividend rotation strategy, $70,000 to invest using the dividend rotation strategy. And the reason why I would say $70,000 is because if you're going to be paying taxes on this, they're going to take a decent chunk of it. and you're going to turn $70,000 into upward of $150,000, and then take 60,000 out of that and live off of it. You're still able to go to work every day, but if you're making the money off of the stock to cover your standard of living, you could work less. You could go on a vacation. You can take some time off and spend time with your family. Still grind, still work toward the end goal. But if you made it to $250,000 or if you made it to $500,000 where $250,000 was being rotated around and $500,000 was sitting stagnant, and your $500,000 was paying out substantially, where you would be making another $500,000 in profits, or $750,000 in profits, that ideally puts you right at the millionaire status. And it still can be done inside of 10 years if you're being frugal. But if you're rotating around a $250,000 portfolio that's giving you a $750,000 portfolio, and then you go buying a G-Wagon and $1 million house and all of these extra credit cards, and now you're pushing yourself to the financial limits, where the money that's coming in investment profits is keeping you from going bankrupt, you're still trying to find another way to make an extra buck. So let's get to the heart of today's episode: the specific strategies that people in China use to live frugally. So here are 10 tried and true methods that you guys can try, and some of which I'll be testing myself this week, and we'll be able to see which ones I'm going to see which ones I'm already doing, because I've been giving you guys trade advice and budgeting advice for a while, and I've been working my way down to the 40% standard. And till I get there, I'm going to keep cutting costs. However, I want to see exactly how many of these that are reasonably capable of being done on a day-to-day basis that does not hurt the average non-wasteful person. We're going to get there. Chinese families are known for keeping detailed records of every yen they spend. Apps like Alipay and WeChat Wallet make it easy to categorize and track expenses. It's equivalent to QuickBooks or Samsung Notepad or any other Excel spreadsheet that you could utilize to document how much money on a digital portfolio, which is different from what we used to do back in the day with writing on the checkbooks, the book balancer. So you had one book that was just checks and one book that wrote down every check that you sent out. And that came together as a package deal. Now they've got apps for that. You write down what's coming in, you write down what needs to go out, and then the difference is either how much you have left in the positive or how much you have in the negative, which ironically, you see that in some of the anime that comes from Japan, Korea, Asia, that the anime of the teenage area or young adult area, where they're always calculating how much does this cost, how much does that cost, which one's cheaper, which one's better quality, this is my budget for the month, all this, as if like they can't afford to do better. It's not that they can't afford to do better. They just don't want to waste anything other than what they need. So many people set strict monthly budgets and they stick to them. Reviewing spending at the end of each month, recognizing some people can go over budget. They would recognize the essentials versus the lack of need of non-essentials, and then readjust for the upcoming month. Some may also put more effort into work to make up the difference to balance out the new budget for the upcoming month. Ever heard of Tuan Go? I think I'm saying that right. Tuan Go. It's supposed to mean group buying, if I said it correctly. Whether it's groceries, electronics, or even travel packages, Chinese consumers often team up to get bulk discounts. We use it in America, it's called Groupons. However, most of us in America don't have a lot of friends that have the similar interest in shopping that is willing to put up a percentage to benefit from something in a bulk buy as opposed to individualistic spending. Out there in China, you would more likely see more than one person interested in buying the same thing, and then they'll all chip in a little bit and everybody get a little something out of it, where by unit they saved a bunch of money or experienced a lot more for the money that they spent because they got it in a package deal. Platforms like Pinduoduo, it's almost like Duo. Pinduoduo. Let's go that route. Pinduoduo. They have made this a national pastime, saving users billions, which is equivalent, like I said, to Groupons. Resourcefulness is key. Resourcefulness. So from repairing clothes, which we don't do, we use them and then we throw them away. And the most that we might see with the repairing of clothes is girls that will cut up their clothes and turn it into a different outfit and wear it in a more scantily clad fashion. But out there, to keep quality clothes looking quality, they will repair clothes, repurpose jars and containers. And this do-it-yourself method is a way of life, where there's a popular saying, if the old doesn't go, the new won't come. But before anything goes, it's reused as much as possible. Eating out is a treat, not a habit. Most families cook at home using fresh local ingredients. Meal prepping is common, with leftovers turned into creative new dishes. I've also come to understand that not only do they repurpose their leftovers, a lot of individuals formulate new friendships with individuals that are not as sociable or not as involved in the group by bringing leftovers to the neighbor or the new person in town or the new person to the apartment, so that the food doesn't go to waste. And the person who received the food now reciprocates with an act of kindness, which then brings people more together. According to a 2022 survey, over 80% of urban Chinese adults cook at least 5 times a week. I got to tell you, with Fit Chef recipes that I've been doing, I've been getting it in about once or twice a month. A couple times I'll cook bulk for the week, or I'll cook bulk for the next couple of weeks, depending on what it is, and I'll freeze everything else and then take it out and stick it in the microwave when needed. But I don't, 3 hours once out of the week is asking a lot with all of the things that I tax on myself for the week. Now, car ownership is starting to rise there, but public transportation is still king. Subways, buses, and especially bike sharing apps like Mobike and Awful are cheap, convenient, and eco-friendly. It also gives you a lot of exercise and keeps you in shape. The average subway ride in Beijing costs just 3 yen, which is about 40 cents, to ride the train. We're spending like $4 to $10 to ride the train. The stigma around secondhand goods is fading fast, where online platforms like Zhangye, which is the Chinese eBay, have millions of users buying and selling everything from clothes to electronics. Community swap events are also popular. And I didn't think about this, but you know those individuals that are doing garage sales? Like That coupled with a thrift store idea, phenomenal if you've got a key brick and mortar location. But if you're doing it online, you could literally buy stuff from a garage sale and then itemize all of your items and then put them up for sale on eBay or uh, uh, Facebook Marketplace or whatever, and have items packaged and ready to ship, where all you got to do is just stick a shipping logo on it and have it ready to fly on out. And you could get you a little bit of a profit from that, because I did tell you before, and this was like 6 months ago when I told you guys that selling stuff that's in your house that you don't need anymore, you could make a profit off of that. It's a small profit, but you can make a small profit off of that. But if you negotiated with garage sale individuals, where you ultimately started buying up a bunch of their stuff and getting a large deduction for the price, you could do an upsell of the used item where you're selling it for a little bit more than what you paid for it, and throw down on the difference with the shipping, and then start making a bunch of money from doing exactly what Goodwill and Salvation Army does, which is sell reasonably used, delicately used items for a below market value rate for individuals that don't mind recycled stuff. And this is starting to become extremely popular with the next generation. It's inspired by both traditional values and modern trends, where many Chinese are embracing millennials and minimalists. The idea is to own less and value quality over quantity. Now, I've been talking to you guys about that forever, for at least since 2023. I've been talking to you guys about this forever, where we will buy less, own less, and then get quality over quantity. I tell you to use this mindset with your relationships. I tell you to use this mindset with your purchasing power, because instead of getting something just for the sake of having it, you can wait, let the price drop on it, then go get it. You still have it, it just costs way less. This will avoid unnecessary purchasing. Duan-Si Lee, The Art of Letting Go, has become a buzzword, where frugal doesn't mean hoarding cash under the mattress. Many Chinese are savvy investors, putting money into stocks, mutual funds, or real estate. And this is actually very interesting, because I've been telling you guys about investing in real estate investment trusts, investing in mutual funds, putting your money into stocks, precious metals, precious minerals, and tech, green energy, all of these other areas that are starting to boom in the current economy. I'm telling you guys to put your money to work instead of hoarding your cash the way you hoard your stuff. Because didn't I tell you guys just yesterday that the average individual that owns a storage facility actually is technically a hoarder, because the stuff that you don't want to part with, you're paying extra money for it to be held in a separate location than your current location, so that you don't have to do away with something that you never look at, where you could have sold that item and saved money on the storage of that item and had more things that you could benefit from. We don't think about these things. Now, I understand that if you're putting something in storage for a short period of time, you're moved to a small place, the stuff that you have is like brand new washers and dryers and brand new refrigerators and brand new this and brand new that, and selling it for half the price is not nearly as profitable for you as paying the difference for the storage. Then, yeah, throw it into the storage. Keep your stuff. remember, financial literacy is on the rise. And I've been talking to you guys about how Gen Zs are starting to learn more about finance. And if you guys come to this app, you guys will find more knowledge related to finance with apps and online courses that make investing more accessible. You now have individuals such as Nicholas Ballas that's giving you guys books like this, which is Alice in Crypto Land. That's a comic book about how to invest in stocks and Bitcoin and other stuff. You've got other people like Brett Owens, who's giving you guys financial investment on how to live off of 8%. I'm sitting over here telling y'all, fuck 8%. Let's live off of 168%. But with Brett Owens' idea, you don't even have to do anything. You park your money and just let it fly. And if you're parking your money and letting it fly, and the money is under $97,000, if you're married, under $64,000, if you're head of household, then it's tax-free. So parking your money is better for you when the dividends that are rolling in is under those tax exempt statuses where you don't got to worry about those. Now, buying in bulk, especially during sales or festivals like Singles Day, where the world's largest shopping event occurs, is a common strategy where shoppers stock up on essentials when prices are at their lowest. It's equivalent to Black Friday, just not necessarily founded off of a bunch of racism and hatred. It probably doesn't have as much people fighting each other over stuff either, where you guys would be able to go somewhere and save as much as 50% compared to the regular prices. Instead of replacing a broken appliance, many opt for repairing it. So if it breaks, they'll just fix it. Local repair shops are everywhere, and do-it-yourself fixers are encouraged, which is what I told you guys before. Some of the women in the Philippines, if your stuff breaks, they'll take it apart and then they'll figure out what's broken on it, and then you just go get the part and they'll put it back together. The money you saved on her fixing it is more money in the budget in comparison to the money it would have cost to pay a repair person or the money it would have cost to replace it outright. Here in America, if it's not working to our satisfactory, if it's old, if it's worn out, we just throw it away and get another one. We don't waste time on trying to fix stuff. The cost in America to repair certain things sometimes costs more than replacing the item. And the funny thing about that is the design of products and the price of products are deliberately constructed in America where it is cheaper for you to replace it than it is for you to repair it, encouraging you to spend more money on new products. The durability of products, where if it works too well, they reduce the quality of it to encourage people to replace it more often. Sleep Number bed used to give you a 25-year warranty because they guaranteed you that the bed would last 25 years. They've knocked that down to 10 years because that's a lifetime. Who knows who here has a bed that they have maintained for 25 years? It ain't broke. It's not on the floor, like completely fully assembled bed frames and all, headboards and all, still intact. I can't find too many people that can say that unless they're never home and never using that bed. This type of mentality, this not only saves money, but also reduces waste. So let's talk about a couple of stories that captures the spirit of Chinese frugality and ingenuity. There's a man in Shanghai who turned his tiny apartment, just 30 square meters. They got some small spaces now. We don't get down like that. His whole apartment is 30 square meters. That's like my living room. But he turned it into a mini business. Using do-it-yourself skills, he built custom furniture, rented out a corner as a workspace, and even grew herbs on a balcony to sell to the neighbors. Now, his resourcefulness turned a cramped space into a profitable venture, proving that with creativity and a frugal mindset, almost anything is possible. Now, you might be wondering, does all this saving and self restraint actually make people happier? Research suggests it does. Studies show that people who live within their means report lower stress, greater life satisfaction, and more financial security. I'm going to further add to that if you're living inside of your means, since you're not stressed about not having enough money, you don't have worries about if you can afford to pay the bills, which allows you to get more sleep, which allows you to feel more rested, which allows you to not be angry throughout the day, lashing out at the friends and family and loved ones that you have, which maintains positive relationships with the people that you value, also not requiring you to work as hard, as long to make enough money to make ends meet, because ends already met days ago, which gives you more ability to take time off from work, which gives you more time to spend more time with the people that matter to you and build memories with the people that matter to you, which makes you value your efforts, because you valuing your own efforts is just as important, if not more important, than other people valuing your effort. Because while family can say you've done enough because you've worked yourself half to death and you're ready to fall out, the fact is that if you don't have enough money to pay the bills and they just put an eviction notice up on the door, you're not satisfied with your own efforts. But if you have it together, if you've got everything under control, if you're taking care of July's bills in June, if you're taking care of September's bills in June, if you're putting money together to pay for your kids' tuition for August right now in June, you are content with the fact that you have accomplished things that will no longer require your attention, which allows you to be able to go on autopilot for a few days and get you some rest, get you some sleep. So this actually is a very dominant thing that Americans don't know anything about, not being stressed out about money. But in China, surveys by the China Family Panel Study found that people who save regularly are 20% more likely to describe themselves as happy compared to those who don't. So let's shift gears for a moment. We all want to feel happy and fulfilled, but sometimes it seems like happiness comes with a price tag. But here's the truth. Lasting happiness often comes from things that money can't buy. And these are the things that I tell women about on the show on a regular basis. We're currently told by ads that the secret to happiness is the next gadget, the trendiest clothes, or the most Instagrammable vacations. But research shows that once our basic needs are met, more spending does not lead to more happiness, which is why men do not care about a woman's education or a woman's career choice, because the things that will make a man happy does not cost a woman money. It might cost her effort, but it's not going to cost her money. It's primarily because guys are expected to be breadwinners, so they already got everything that they need financially. The things that the man needs that doesn't cost money, the man just does not have the time or energy to put effort into getting that done. And that's where the girlfriend and the wife comes in. Think about that, ladies. In fact, the pursuit of more can leave us feeling empty. So chasing $1 million dream, it's good to aim high, but if you get to $250,000, you can always stop. You don't have to keep trailblazing to a billionaire. Doesn't mean that you're going to avoid making it to a billionaire if at all possible, but you want to be able to recognize the success along the way. So what can we do instead? Get your pens and papers out. We're going to be sitting over here talking about some simple free strategies that many of which are practiced in China and around the world. First thing I want you guys to do is remember that you need to start practicing gratitude. Take a few minutes each day to note 3 things you're thankful for. Studies show that this can boost happiness by up to 25%. You got to get moving. Physical activities, even a brisk walk, releases endorphins and improves mood. Connect with nature, spending time outside. Remember when we was growing up, y'all, mama used to say, take your ass outside, go get you some sun. I don't know if y'all mama talked to y'all like that, but mama talked to us like that. And real talk, we got outside. And for some reason, we went from being bored and drained to having so much energy to go and get into some trouble. It reduces stress and increases feelings of well-being. Strengthening social connections, very important thing to do. Family dinners, phone calls with friends, or community events. These bonds matter more than material things. Practicing mindfulness, and back to the strengthening social connections. Some people are willing to spend extra money to formulate fictitious social connections just so that they're not alone. These are very, very encouraging bonds that needs to be manifested. So practicing mindfulness, if you're being present even for a few minutes a day, being present means that you've put down the cell phone, put down the video games, put down the movies, and giving somebody your undivided attention, even just for a few minutes a day. This can reduce anxiety and increase happiness. We need to start finding a way to embrace minimalism. Decluttering your space can also declutter your mind. Mom used to always say back in the day, if you for it, I'm throwing it out. So she would come through the house when we was kids. She would not tell us to clean our room. She told us that if there isn't a place for it in the room, it's thrown out. So if it's on the floor and it is not your shoes, it is thrown out. No toys was left on the floor. No trading cards were left on the floor. No games was left on the floor. Nothing. If it wasn't your shoes and your shoes needed to be in the closet, otherwise she would come through there, put everything into a trash bag and set it out there for the garbage man. She wasn't playing with decluttering. Bet you that damn house stayed clean on a regular basis. We found places to put stuff. Shoot, I used to have I had 4 walls in the bedroom. Everybody does, but all 4 walls had a clothes rack on it. So I had any clothes that didn't fit in the closet was wrapped around all the walls in the room so that there would be no clothes on the floor. I'm sitting over here drinking coffee. One of the clients is going to be giving us coffee coming soon. So you'll be seeing this and that with the this and that coffee mug, drinking coffee from one of our collaborators. We're going to be talking about that coming up soon. Help others. And that's why I talk about the collaborators, because Sarah, that's a collaboration that we're going to be having next week, Wednesday. And the coffee, that's also going to be a collaboration. Help others. Volunteering or helping a neighbor brings a sense of purpose and joy. If you learn something new in addition to that, you'll be able to find that free online courses or community workshops can stimulate your mind and boost confidence. Then you need to enjoy simple pleasures. You know that some cultures have like tea time where it's not called tea time for the sake of calling it tea time. They call it tea time because it is time for you to sit your behind down, sip you a little bit of tea, and just chill. Get you a cup of tea. Get you a cup of coffee. Coffee kind of not as good as tea because the caffeine kind of, it's a blocker and it's not. But at least get you a cup of coffee. For those individuals that grab you a glass of wine, it's after 5 o'clock somewhere. Cocktail hour. Get yourself a mimosa or a mojito. Grab you a good book, or take your dogs out for a walk in the park. These moments add up. You want to make sure that you're taking care of yourself. Sleep, nutrition, and self-care routines are essential for well-being. Now, fellas, we work from the time we get up till the time we drop, but ladies have enough time to at least do a skincare routine, a hair treatment routine, and all of the stuff that they do to keep themselves at tip-top conditioning. At least most of them. Fellas, we got to do some of the same things. We've got to make sure that we're getting the correct vitamins and nutrition that we need. We have the correct diet that we need that's not offset by the nutrition that we need. Then we're getting enough rest. We've got to learn how to turn things off, put ourselves in a position where we can wake up without an alarm clock and still be on time, which means that we go into bed on time so that we're not oversleeping or waking up tired. And then managing our time more effectively, where we're not piling on too many things in one day, the way I do. So here's the plan. We're going to try living by these 10 frugal strategies for a while. And then we're going to be tracking the spending, cooking, and usage of public transportation, and maybe even try to do some do-it-yourself repairs. And we're going to be talking about the way things go and how this turns out. Then we're going to discuss what we've learned about it. And I'd like to know, have you tried any frugal living strategies before today? Do you guys have any stories, successes, or failures? You share them both and put your thoughts into the comments so that we can discuss live exactly what your experience was. And if you're hungry for more tips on personal finance and happiness, I want you guys to get ready, because we're about to start talking about some stocks that you guys can invest in, some that just paid out over the past week. We're going to be giving you guys the price per share, the dividends per share, and the ex-dividend date along with the payout date if I have them listed here. And you'll be able to learn how to manage money, build a life that you love without breaking the bank, and then put your money in places where your money starts making money for you. Because you got to remember that frugality isn't about deprivation. It's about empowerment. It's about making choices that align with your values, building security for your future, and finding joy in the simple things. The Chinese approach to frugal living offers timeless wisdom for anyone, anywhere. So let's get into who just paid and how much they paid. Now, I told y'all yesterday that if y'all are following the show, I give y'all the stocks in the comment section, letting you know who paid what when and how much you would have made if you would have invested in that stock. Eversource Energy is trading at $62 a share. So I want you guys to pay attention to that. Eversource Energy is paying $62 a share. And I got to get some over here by TikTok or Twitter. Okay. And Eversource just sent out a quarterly dividend of 71 cents per share. So if you don't own Eversource, if you buy it by the 16th, you're locked in and you'll be getting what you need to invest in that particular stock so that you're good for the ex-dividend date. Right? And then the next one up. Oh, hold on. I got to tell you guys, their payout was today. So Eversource, you bought in on the 16th, it paid out today. We've got a lot of these that are doing that we're going to be talking to you guys about. So make sure that you keep in touch. We got Stag. Stag Industrial is a favorite for monthly income seekers, which is priced at about $35.50 a share, which is almost about the same price as International Seaway. Their latest dividend is 12 cents per share paid monthly, which is a little bit it's a lot a bit more than Orchid Island. Orchid Island right now is at $6.90 a share, but it fluctuates. If you buy into it while it's $6.90 a share, you're doing all right, because if it goes up in value back to $8 to $10 or $17, you'll be doing all right. And with $6 and some change per share, you can basically buy 5 shares of Orchid Island for a monthly payout of 12 cents a share, which is going to be 5 times more than Stag. And this is why I told you guys to look into which ones pay when, because the ex-dividend date for Stag is the payout date, or the ex-dividend date for Orchid Island. So you're only going to buy one or the other. And you want to put your money somewhere where you're going to be getting more money back than what you're putting in, so that it makes it worth your while. Now, a new one here, Pennant Park Floating Rate Capital. This one is $11.20 a share, and it pays about $10 per share every month, from what I understand. And that one is a new one that we just discovered this week. And it's going to be one that I'm going to be following to determine if it's valuable enough to throw into the rotation. But this one you need to pick up by the 15th of the month. And it paid out today as well. And giving you 10 cents a share off of $11, it's, a little under 1% return. But if it's doing it on a monthly basis, as opposed to the $6 per share that's giving you 12 cents a share from Orchid Island, depending upon the fluctuations, you might find it to be more affordable depending on which month you're looking at that stock. Dream Office Real Estate Investment Trust. They're currently priced at $8.80, which is about $2 over Orchid Island, and they're paying out $8 a share. Okay. And that's going to mean that you guys might actually see yourselves making a little something from this one, depending upon which day of the week that you invest in it. But the ex-dividend date for that one is on the 30th, which is the same day as Orchid Island and AGNC. But this one has a payout date of the 30th, or I'm sorry, the 14th. So with the payout date of the 14th, it's paying next week or the week after. You don't have to hold it when you buy and sell. You have to pick it up to do the dividend rotation. You have to pick it up a few days before the ex-dividend date, and then sell it a few days after the ex-dividend date, and just go on with your rotation. And then the payout date, you'll receive your capital. Now, I just told you about AGNC. AGNC is at $10 a share. And AGNC is paying out currently 12 cents a share on a monthly basis. It was due on the 30th of the month, and it just paid out this past weekend. So for anybody who was following this, we just got paid on this last month or last weekend. They're saying that there's supposed to be another payout on the 11th, but I got notified on my payout over the weekend. So double check your payment dates, but your ex-dividend date is the most important. I bought in before the 28th so that it was on the books by the 30th, so that when it does do its payout, it will put us in a good spot. Now, Orchid Island also just paid out. But I'm using a different platform than what you might be using. Orchid Island is, as I said before, about 680. And I've been following Orchid Island since we first found Orchid Island because it is one of the highest paying stocks with the lowest buy-in rate. And it just dropped money yesterday, but they're claiming that the ex-dividend date is supposed to be on June 14th as well. I just got notified that that they released capital. So again, double check your pay dates, but recognize that the ex-dividend date is the ex-dividend date. If you're on the books by the ex-dividend date, whenever they release the funds, you're going to get yours. Horizon Technologies is a new one. We haven't talked about Horizon Technologies before, not that I can remember. And Horizon Technologies is a $12 per share that is paying 11 cents a share. And I'm not sure. I think this one is a quarterly, but it might actually be a monthly, but it did pay out, or it's scheduled to pay out coming soon, which it being a couple dollars above Orchid Island and AGNC. If it is a monthly, you might want to consider when things start changing to look into whether or not you're going to grab this one versus grabbing one of the other ones. But because these are all ones that are wrapping it up on the 30th or the 31st, you have to choose which one you're going to buy and which one you're not going to buy. Here's another one, Ellington Credit Co., $9.30, which is getting closer to Orchid Island. And this one is doing 12 cents a share. And typically when you see 12 cents a share, it's more often than not a monthly, but there are some quarterlies that also do 12 cents a share. So you want to pay attention to which one you're buying into, because you don't want to buy into the wrong one and thinking that you're going to do a buy and hold on a quarterly, getting 12 cents a share on a quarter when you could have been getting 12 cents a share on the month. DTH Holdings is a trading company that's doing $11 per share to buy it, paying 35 cents per share for the quarter. So since this is a quarterly, you're looking at your ex-dividend date being on the 22nd. I might add that one into the rotation, because if I pick it up on the 20th or the 21st, then I can drop it on the 23rd or 24th and still have the 2-day grace period by the 25th or 26th to still pick up either Orchid Island or AGNC by the 27th or 28th and still be on the books for the ex-dividend date where I can get both. And since this one is $11 per share and it is paying out $35 per share, 35 cents per share, this one, take a look at this one. This one is actually going to be giving you a larger return than International Seaway that we're about to pick up on the 12th and hold on to get that $1.75 a share from International Seaway. But International Seaway is like $36 or $37 per share. So when you break that down to the same values as Orchid Island, you're dividing that $1.75 by like 4 or 5, which would put you somewhere around like 30 to 32 cents per share. And that is still more than 12 cents a share, but it just depends on if you're going to be doing that one-time hit and then run, or if you're going to be doing a buy and hold, because if you're doing a buy and hold, it's not nearly enough. But if you do that hit and run, it'll definitely put you where you need it to be. Gladstone Commercial, good. I like their ticker. It's good. They're also at $12 per share, which is giving out 10 cents per share monthly with their ex-dividend dates. And these guys wrap up on the 22nd, and which means that you can do monthly with them and then do monthly with Orchid Island. So, and now you're getting more than one ex-dividend date. So you're looking at whether or not if you're buying into something on the 24th or not. And if you're not, then you can buy into this. Or if you're buying into something on the 24th, if it costs less than this one and pays out, or if it costs more than this one and pays out less, then you can just do the difference between the two. Cord Energy is the next one that we're going to be talking about. Cord Energy is a big one because this one trades at $180 and they pay out $2.94 per share, including a variable bonus in addition to that. So it's not just going to be $2.94 a share, but it's going to be at least $2.94 a share. And the concern that you have with that is how much is the bonus, and if that bonus offsets $180, because when you think about $36 or $37 a share going into $180, you're looking at potentially 6 shares. And if you're doing $2.94, you're hoping they're giving you another $5 to offset, so that you're not looking at a extreme loss or just not as much of a gain, depending on which direction you're coming from. Now, the ex-dividend date for this one is going to be May 24th. So if you're on the books by May 24th, you'll be getting paid tomorrow. So pay attention to that one and try to see if you can catch the next ex-dividend date, because ones like this are quarterlies, which also means that depending upon when you buy and sell, you might have missed the one that's being done for June, but you might pick up the one that's being done for August, where you would be buying in July to get paid for August, because it's every 3 months. Or if my months are wrong, you'll be buying in August and getting paid in September, because it's still every 3 months. Energizer Holdings, these guys are working at 32 cents a share. And $32 per share with 30 cents payout per share. That's where they're at. $32 to buy it and 30 cents per share paid quarterly. Around about the same level as Arbor Realty, because Arbor Realty is almost cents a share, and I think they're like $16 to buy in. But if you got your ex-dividend date on May 22nd with the payout for June 12th, which is going to be sometime next week, you pushing, and then throughout the upcoming month, you'll find yourself with a few dozen dividends that's just being released in different areas. And one of the things you can end up doing, and this is going to be like a pro tip for the dividend rotation strategy, the capture rotation strategy, is if your primary income is going towards the largest returns, and then the dividend returns are being collected and put towards the secondary investment, you can still capture more than one investment opportunity instead of letting your money just float without actually being invested in something. So you can actually buy one, you're getting dividends, buy something else with the dividends that were paid to you, sell the first one, go buy something else, then sell the dividends, and then go buy something else, and then take the dividends and add to the dividends. And now you're moving around 2 rotation strategies, where at times when you've only got one stock to invest in, you can put all your money into the one stock. But in other times when you have stocks overlapping, you can do a 90-10 where you put 90% in one and 10% in the other, and then go with the flow. Some day traders spend about an hour per week trading, buying and selling stocks, an hour per day. Now, if you're spending an hour per day, that means that you've probably got 5 or 7 different streams of capital being moved around, where every day you're selling something and every couple days you're buying something else. If your overall return is still paying for your entire standard of living, if your day starts with moving your money around and then your night ends with checking the stocks, I want those kind of troubles. See what I'm saying? You woke up this morning, like anybody who was on unemployment, they woke up, They filled out the information online so that they could qualify for their payment. They rolled over and went back to bed. Then anybody else had to get up, put in a full day of work, came back to the house tired as fuck. Now they got to take over the house stuff so that the girlfriend or the wife can get a break, but the husband don't never take a break. Man, I want to be able to wake up, and the hardest part of my day is that I got up. I traded because I was bored, and I checked the stocks because I was bored, and then I found something to do while I was awake so that I wouldn't be bored. I want them troubles, okay? Like Franklin from TikTok. I want them troubles, man. I want them big money problems, man. Think about it now. Landmark Bancorp. I told y'all we was going to be giving y'all all kind of stocks to put into. Landmark Bancorp. Lark. They're trading at $19 a share, and they're paying out 21 cents per share with ex-dividend date on May 15th. They're paying in 2 days. So if you got them last month, you can dive on them. You're going to be benefiting from them in 2 days. But if you didn't dive on them last month, you can take this one down, because I believe that this is going to be one of those quarterlies that you might want to put your money into for the next quarter. The next one is a regional management, which is $28 per share, paying $30 per share on the quarterly. Their ex-dividend date was May 21st, paying out on the 12th, which is going to be sometime next week. So if you would have got into it last month, you would be getting paid on that this month. And each one of these is going to be dropping something every couple days. Something different is going to be dropping something where you're going to be getting a notification that you just got paid. So these are some of the ones that I wanted to start you guys off on to add to the list of ones that we had collected for our dividend rotation strategy, because I thought that you guys could benefit from that. And I know that I'm going to be giving you guys some more tips and tricks coming soon about other things that you can invest in, adding into your dividend rotation strategy for individuals that only have 7 to 20% of their income to invest, because they're living at maximum quantity of their means without having much ability to be wasteful. If you are investing your cash into cash stocks, which are stocks that pay you back money, then you can double, triple, quadruple your money, which allows you to increase your principal faster. And if you reinvest your principal while adding to your principal, if you started with 1,000, you made 1,500 and added 1,000 to that every single time or every month, depending on how much money you're able to put down on that, you could turn $1,000 into $20,000 or turn $1,000 into $60,000 in less than a year, depending on how much you keep adding onto your principal and how much of your interest payback you reinvested back into that stock. And you just keep doing that until you're in a position where you now are getting dividends paid back more than the standard of need, more than the standard of living that you have. And then you can pocket the standard of living money and reinvest everything else, which is what the wealthy does, which is invest everything and then take the interest and pay all the bills. And if you're paying bills, because these dividend payouts are only coming every sporadically throughout the month. So if your bills are paid for 2, 3, 5 months, whenever the money get here, you can take that money and deposit it into your account and then take the money and start paying for 2 months from now. And everything is still being paid on time. You can even, with some of the fintech that's out there, you can do auto direct deposit where you're depositing money into your bank account and then have auto bill pay set up where the money goes from that account to another account. And then it gets charged on that account on the day that it's due, where now you don't even got to worry about where your money is because it came from somewhere, went somewhere else, and now something else is getting paid for. And it's a down the line payment. So the money that's sitting on that card or the money that's sitting in that bank account is not moving, because as I told you guys, you got to have a checking account for everyday spending. You got to have a different check account for incoming deposits and a different check account for outgoing expenses, which is not the same as everyday spending. And then you have to have a different bank account for auto pay. You have a different bank account to pay your credit cards, a different bank account to buy stuff online, a different bank account to buy stuff on vacation. There's over 8,000 financial institutions in America, which ultimately means that you have the capabilities of having at least one bank and one credit union in every state. And with 50 states in America plus Canada, you have 51 states that you could get a bank and a credit union from, which means that you could have 104 bank accounts, and you can find something to do with each one of them. I understand some people like, shoot, that's too much managing. Look, on the least, you need to have East Coast banks, West Coast banks, South Side banks, and North Side banks. If you got one on the East Coast, one on the West Coast, because anything that's on the East Coast is not on the West Coast. Anything in South Central United States is not in the North Central United States. So when you travel, if you have a financial issue that requires you to go to the branch, it is better for you to have a branch in the state that you're in. So when you're traveling, instead of traveling with large stacks of cash in your pocket, and instead of traveling with all of your credit cards in your pocket, you want to leave all of your financial extras in a safe somewhere at your house or something, or somewhere else safe, and only take the one travel card, which belongs to the location you're traveling to, where you've wire transferred the money to the location that you're traveling to. And now you're going to travel to that location with just that card, and you're going to spend that card. You can go out there and withdraw cash and then spend the cash. But that's a lot easier than driving around the country with $10,000 of cash in your pocket. That's a lot easier than walking around with a wallet full of every credit card that you have that's activated in your pocket. Only take what you need. So why does this matter? If you're building a portfolio for income, these dates and payouts are your bread and butter. Remember, you have your own stock that you got to get, and you have to possess the stocks that you own before the ex-dividend date to get the next payout. You can't try to buy it on the ex-dividend date where the purchase might not clear until after the end of the business day. They might not document you for the next day. You have to already have the stock in your possession for the ex-dividend date. Then you can get rid of it at any point in time after that. And whether you're after monthly cash flow or big quarterly bonuses, the companies that I gave you guys today have been proving themselves to keep the dividends rolling. Now, remember, if you want to dive deeper into any of these names or learn how to spot the next big dividend payer, I want you guys to keep coming back to the show, because we're live 7 nights a week and we don't let the sun rise without going live. We've got more strategies and stories coming up. And if you've received any dividends from any of these stocks recently, I want you guys to let us know. So when we tell you about the $500 that we're getting off of the investment we put down, you could be like, dang, he walked away with that. Shoot, I should have invested in what he invested in. That's what y'all got to think about. So I want to thank you guys for joining me on the show today. This was a very good journey. Don't forget to subscribe. Make sure that you guys hit the follow button on Twitter. Make sure you hit the follow button on Twitch. Make sure that you like and subscribe on YouTube. Make sure that you come over to YouTube if you're watching us on Twitch or Twitter, and come and like and subscribe on YouTube, and hit that notification button so that you can be notified about all of the business and finance moves that we're going to make. Stay tuned for the rest of the week while we're trying to live frugally, the Chinese style. And make sure that you pay attention to Thursday through Sunday shows, where we're going to be talking about how to improve ourselves with our personal development. We're going to be improving ourselves with investment opportunities and budgeting strategies, where we're going to be trying to spend less money, cutting back on bills and cutting back on unnecessary waste, and then cutting back on bad decisions, such as supporting that date for that chick that doesn't really seem interested in you, and start redirecting our capital to things that are going to be more beneficial to us. This way we can make ourselves higher valued men. We're already higher valued men by character, but we want to be higher financially status men, so that we can have that capabilities of finding a higher valued woman that actually is seeking that financial stability. And once we've gotten there, we will be able to, and this is again going to go back to what we said earlier in the show, seeking quality over quantity. So instead of chasing any girl that gives us attention, we're focusing on the one that will give us what we need. And in exchange for that, she's going to get what she needs out of us. So we have to make sure that we're putting our finances where they need to be so that we can start that family and build that livelihood, because those of us that are creating a legacy with that valuable woman are going to be the individuals that are going to be teaching our children and our children's children how to manage the budget. If we're going to be first generation Rockefeller families with that generational wealth, we have to figure out how to make the money make money for us, figure out how to turn the money on to an autopilot scenario, and then teach our kids how to do the same thing, and teach our kids' kids how to do the same thing, and then set it up where all the trust that we've been talking about building and putting together will be giving the next generation revenue that they can invest and make a better standard of living, where they don't have to struggle the way we struggled, but we can die happy and rest in peace because we left a legacy. More than just reputation, more than just social status. We left a legacy of success and resource for the next generation to appreciate and enjoy. And that's what most people dream of, is being able to build that legacy and passing it on to somebody else. And passing it on, you have to have a routine so that you can pass on a routine so that they can keep that routine going. Once you get the kind of routine that's autopilot, where all they've got to do is, not waste too much money, there it is. So you got to teach them how to be responsible, and you got to teach your kids how to be financially responsible as young as toddlers, 3, 4, 5 years old. Instead of them being spoiled with name brand clothes, they need to be taught durability, and they need to be taught affordability, and they need to be taught reasonable pricing, where you're not buying the logo, you're buying the quality. And that leads you to having something that might cost a little bit more than something cheap, but that thing that costs a little bit more than something cheap lasts way longer than the cheap thing. So if you can buy one cheap thing 30 times, but you buy one slightly more expensive thing one time over the course of the usage of the 30, you actually save the money. That's what the term quality over quantity means. Instead of buying 30 pairs of jeans that each one of them is going to rip, you buy one pair of jeans that never rips. The other 29 pairs of jeans you didn't have to buy, that's your savings. Be more responsible. With that being said, ladies, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm always going to ask you, ladies, to make it make sense. So, ladies, please make it make sense. And fellas, we are a 75% male-driven podcast from the male's perspective. While we give financial advice for the ladies too, the ladies are going to be alpha boss ladies, and they're going to have more money than us. So we're going to have to step it up, because they're going to take what we're telling them and they're going to put it in places. They're going to be like, shoot, multi-millionaire, I don't need you. So we fellas, we got to get our stuff together. We can't be wasting our money on bull jive. We got to really be putting our money where it needs to be at, because we are not going to be recognized as valuable if we're in a scenario where the people that we choose are not willing to date down. So if we're looking for somebody on our level, where I've told you guys before, a person that is on your level is a person that can do for you what you can do for yourself. That is a person that's on your level. A person that is beneath you is somebody who cannot do for you what you're doing for yourself. And that person is also dependent upon you to do for them what they cannot do for themselves. That is somebody that is beneath you. And when you recognize that, you're looking for somebody on your level. In order for you to find somebody that is on your level, sometimes, fellas, you got to get on her level. So you got to up your game and up your status and up your resources so that you can meet the level of the female that you're trying to talk to. Ladies, vice versa. That's the same thing. Sometimes y'all got to up your game and up your value and up your cooperation, because the stuff that a man wants from you is not valued on money, it's valued on effort, and you might have to put more effort into a higher value man so that you can get more stuff out of him. Think about that now. And with that being said, I'm going to wrap things up for y'all tonight. If anybody who's jumping in right now missed out on the list of stocks that came onto the show, don't worry. If you replay the show on YouTube after the show goes off the air, you can scroll to the locations when I was talking about which stocks paid out, what their dividend price was, what the dividend payout was, the expiration dates to buy it, and the payout dates to buy it. And you can find the list in the comment section in real time. So all you got to do is just replay the show, and you will get those get it out of the comment section on YouTube on which stocks to put your money on. That's all I got for you guys for tonight. I want to thank you guys for coming to this and that. Remember that we've got Sarah coming in next week, Wednesday. I got it up here on the top of the screen. She's going to be coming in at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is about 10 p.m. Central Standard Time. And we're going to be rocking the house. She's going to be answering dating questions from you guys, whether y'all in relationships, y'all married with a girlfriend on the side, y'all single, trying to find out where the women at, any questions that y'all got, bring them to the show and ask Sarah. She's going to be here for a while, and she'll be able to answer everybody's questions. So make sure that y'all tune in next Wednesday, definitely. But until next Wednesday, we're going to be here every night of the week doing a different topic about a different thing. So I want to thank you guys for coming to tonight's show. Thank you for coming to this and that. I'm your host, Xander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. And I'm going to see you guys tomorrow night.
Chase validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt upon the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher, constantly making my own climb. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. I'm not landing on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground.